Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called, Why Are You Calling Me? A few months ago, I bought a laptop from an online website. They said the laptop would be delivered in 1 to 2 days. But after 5 days, I didn't get anything. When I called them about this, they were very rude and were like, why are you calling us? It's not our responsibility anymore. Contact the delivery company. After another 2 days, they finally tried looking for it, and it turns out they shipped the laptop to some address for a guy who had the same name as me. How did this happen? Well, it seems they still do things manually. The guy who wanted to fill the forms tried finding my address in their database with the name instead of the order number, and they had another customer with the same name. The other guy with the same name accepted the package, thinking it's a gift. It was supposed to be, so I asked him to package it like one. He opened it and used it for a few days, without knowing who gifted it, until they reached him. He was a nice guy and returned the device. And then it was sent to me. I got the laptop 15 days after ordering, and it was terrible. The box was ruined instead of just opened, and there were fingerprints on it and a little scratch on one side. I contacted customer service and asked for a change or refund. They answered it was only possible 7 days for open box and 30 days for not opened, and it's been 15 days, so they won't accept it. I tried several times explaining that it was their mistake, but they started getting rude, and after a few calls they just blocked my phone number. I think they thought I would get tired and accept it, since we are in a bad country and suing them won't be easy. But I did sue them, and unlike what I was thinking, it was way easier. They checked all data, it took around 1 month. But the judge ordered a refund, which was paid by them directly from their credit. And the best part is that their license for selling anything online or offline was cancelled. In this country, this means that they have to get those licenses again. For their physical store, they have to wait at least 2 weeks for the paperwork and pay about 5 times the price of the laptop, then another 2 weeks for a license to sell things online. They tried calling me, because it seems if I say that I don't have any problem anymore, they don't have to pay the money and they don't need to get the licenses again. But I answered, why are you calling me? It's not my responsibility, and blocked them. The next story is called, He Wanted a Doctor's Note. I have had a migraine going on for over a week now. I had a doctor's appointment scheduled for next week to get help with it, and my doctor couldn't see me sooner. Due to the severity of it at times, I was 5 minutes late to work twice this week. Literally 5 minutes, when I'm usually on time. Both times were because I literally had to stop my commute to throw up due to the pain. I informed my manager of the situation, but because he likes to run a tight ship, he demanded I pay $20 for a doctor's note for those 2 days and get it before my next shift, today. $20 is roughly what I get paid for 2 hours of work after taxes. Anyways, I went to the walk-in clinic this morning before work. I had to wait until today, because today is the day we get paid, and I was broke after paying rent on the 1st. The doctor, who I met for the first time, blew all of my symptoms out of proportion. Migraine, tiredness and red eyes from not sleeping well. He said that I needed to get tested and self-isolate until I get the results. Since it's the weekend, I probably won't get the results until Monday afternoon. Here's the best part. Since I only work 4 days a week and I was scheduled Friday to Monday, I'm eligible to receive 2 weeks of benefits from the government in my country. Friday and Saturday being part of this week, and Sunday and Monday being part of next week. The criteria state that you are eligible if your schedule is cut by 50%. So I'm getting $1,000 to have a long weekend at home, when I would have only gotten paid $325 if I had worked. After I tell my manager this, he said I have to come in because they are short-staffed and nobody can work but me. Then he accused me of lying. It felt great to say, I'm sorry sir, but it's the law. You'll get your doctor's note when I see you on Tuesday. The third story is called, The Karen Manager. This story happened around 2010. I, male 23 at the time, had graduated college 2 years prior and was unable to find work in the Great Recession. So I stayed on in my college job, working in a grocery store. At this point I had landed my first real job outside and had put in my 2 weeks notice, but nobody knew but the day manager. Now, anyone who has ever worked in a grocery store or similar retail environment knows that there's always a middle-aged woman with an outsized ego running the evening shift after anyone with even remote qualifications has gone home. It's practically part of the position to have a weird sadistic streak and to inflate yourself on the modicum of power the position provides. A similar-aged fellow, Walter, and I had finished our night's work, being the industrious lads that we were. If you've worked in this environment, you also know that this weird sadistic line manager will try to squeeze every single minute of work out of you possible, so as to make herself look as good as possible. So Walter and I are in the back room doing light duty until close, which is about 2 hours away. In walks sadistic line manager, who starts going off about how we are stealing time. We weren't, we were doing light duty. Sweeping, sorting, etc. I inform her we are hourly workers with an assigned nightly workload and we are onto our assigned light duty after finishing. This goes over about as well as if I threw something at her. She drags us to the dairy case, gives us a shopping cart, some cleaner and instructs us to pull the product, cleaning the shelving and reset the product. Walter, who hated her guts, got this look on his face. Something I'd never seen before and something I hope I never see again. Walter explained his plan, and we both went and got about 5 more shopping carts each. We fully pulled the case, cleaned the shelving, most importantly removed the tag to clean under them. And then, oops, that was our time for the night. Now there are about $2,000 of dairy that can't be out for more than a few hours max sitting in the aisle of the store with no one to put it back. We tell the manager it's there and leave for the night. The store is closing in about 10 minutes, 11 PM, and she has $2,000 of dairy set to expire on her watch. Anyone who works in a supermarket also knows that the store managers watch the time clocks like hawks. And everyone is hourly until you make a certain grade, so there are only like 2 salary positions in a store, usually general manager and assistant GM. She can't run up her time since she is a 40-hour employee, eligible for overtime, and now has to clock out and spend hours for free figuring out the planogram. I talk to the night shift guys every now and again, and according to them, she was there until about 3 in the morning, getting everything back the way it was. The last story is called Don't Come to the Meeting. I work organizing private travel for ultra-high net worth individuals, generally focusing on European travel. About a month ago, I handed in my 2 months notice as I'd found a new role elsewhere after 2.5 years of dealing with my narcissist manager's constant passive-aggressive needling and bullying. The narcissistic boss we shall call Napoleon. I'm sure you can make the connection there. The client we'll call Dingo, because he's Australian. So, as mentioned, a couple of weeks back I handed in my 2 months notice to leave the company. One of the first things Napoleon asked me to do was to put together a full handover of my client list with a bit of an explanation of their likes and dislikes, regular routes, example margins for flights, etc. As I'm moving to a completely different industry, this was absolutely fine and gave me something to do. This handover went unacknowledged for about 4 weeks, while I wrapped my stuff up and spent a lot of time sitting around doing sod all. Wednesday this week, Napoleon decides, let's go and decide who gets which client then. You don't need to come up, stay here and mend the phones. I had 3 flights that were already booked months ago that would be operating after I had officially left the company. So these were essentially free money towards targets for whoever gets to deal with them at the start of the next year. Napoleon, being a narcissist and greedy, decides that the 2 flights with the biggest margin he'd take for himself and screw everyone else. However, had he had me in the meeting to discuss the clients, he would have known that I was in the middle of a fairly difficult discussion with client Dingo over a flight to a certain Alpine resort at the end of December. Essentially, we had been told that there were no landing options for the requested airport. They would have to use a different airport about a 45-minute drive further away. He'd chosen the original one as his kids get car sick, so he wanted to cut down the drive time. I'd been going back and forth with the aircraft owner, trying to find a solution. While they were up in the meeting, I eventually broke the bad news to Dingo, but advised that we would offer him money off a future flight, and therefore cutting our margin as an apology. Dingo did not like this and responded with a scathing email, advising us of how awful this all was and how he was considering cancelling the flight. He'd think about the options that I provided him and get back to me later that day. Cue the malicious compliance. Napoleon comes down from the meeting and advises, "Oh, I'll be looking after Dingo and this other client from now on for you." So I thought, brilliant. If he wants the margin and didn't want to bother to get the background, he can deal with the fallout. So I sent over an email to Dingo, saying, "I'm so sorry for all the issues that you face with this. I understand how disappointed you are. Please note I have escalated this directly to my manager Napoleon, who will now be dealing with this all personally from this point forward." When Napoleon saw this, he responded, "What are you doing? You don't leave for another 2 weeks. To which I responded, "You asked me to hand things over and advised that you are dealing with Dingo. So I've handed Dingo over to you as requested." Any information you need is in the handover I gave you a couple of weeks ago, as clearly you don't need any more information. Napoleon lost it a bit with me. Then he had to spend the next 2 days groveling to Dingo, dealing with a very difficult operator. If he'd thought for a second, maybe it would be useful to have him up there to talk us through the clients, then he wouldn't have to be dealing with this. But I washed my hands of what was becoming a fairly stressful situation and went back to doing various pointless busy work as I work out my notice. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. And I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.